Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Steve. Thank you for stopping by my channel. I'm just an American guy on a journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Today, we're going to be reacting to the Gurkhas. Up until about a week ago, I'd never heard of the Gurkhas before, but I watched the Queen Elizabeth procession video and noticed in the description it said that the Gurkhas were marching alongside the other military regiments. And so I kind of got curious about who the Gurkhas were. And in the comment section, I was told that they are a fierce fighting group from Nepal, and a small amount of these soldiers join the British military on a yearly basis. Beyond that, I have no clue who they are, but they sound kind of interesting, so I thought I'd check them out. And also, I've been wanting to check out the British military some, and this seems like a good starting off point to go down that path. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and check it out.
This is Gurkha class of 2019. "400 trainee soldiers, the biggest intake to set foot in the UK in over 30 years. Most are just teenagers, and their journey began thousands of miles from here.
The Himalayas.
Nepal. It's a small nation wedged between India and China, the mighty Himalayas running down its spine. It remains one of the world's poorest and least developed countries, and for 200 years the British Army have recruited some of its strongest young men.
200 years?
Please.
I wonder how that started.
Every year,
That's interesting.
10,000 apply to join, pledging to fight and potentially die for a country and a queen on the other side of the world. It's a friendship like no other, a British Foreign Legion over 200 years old. With the UK's crisis in recruitment, we need them more than ever. But how do you find the very best Gurkhas? How do the British Army protect them from the corruption so rife in Nepal? And once in, is it all they dreamed of?
Gurkha company.
So I'm curious. It's so interesting. 200 years? Considering they are, I don't know how far away, but thousands of miles from the UK, I'm wondering how that relationship began. And also, does anybody know why they're called the Gurkhas? Where does that name come from?
The first stage of selection for the British Army takes place each year in September, one in the west of Nepal in Pokhara, and one in the east, here in hot, sticky Dharan. Young men from all around get up in the early hours and travel miles to be here for a chance of a job in the British Army.
Today we got one hilly district, that's Gurkha, and we got 5 Tarai districts. Normally they're farming background, especially in Tarai district, they're farming backgrounds, and hilly district also farming background. But nowadays most of the boys from the hills do come down to the cities, near the cities, for a better education, better life, or probably better facilities as well. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like most of these young men are from farming communities, and so they're looking for better opportunities. And so obviously joining the British military is a very good career opportunity. I wonder if the women are also allowed to join. I don't think he said anything about that. All I see so far is
this year, the recruiting campaign was bigger than ever before. They advertised on every one of Nepal's 72 radio stations, and the recruiting officers, retired Gurkhas known as Gulawallas, travelled to all corners of the country, gathering young men together on football pitches, tennis courts and cafes. They modernised their website. Potential recruits, known as PRs, could even email Deputy Head of Recruiting Major Sandy Nightingale personally, and they did.
I do get quite a few emails from PRs asking some quite various questions, from "Are my teeth okay?" with photographic evidence to can women join this year? GC Kulagi, Hami Duisai Jana. What we're trying to do is dispel the myth that only certain Nepalis can join the British Army. It's still amazing to me that people think it's only certain castes. People think that you have to be rich. People think all kinds of things that are all wrong. We will take anyone who's good enough.
So it does sound like women can join
on every single stand
if,
as well.
long as they're good enough to keep up.
I'm a Gurung, he's a Rai. You know, maybe he's going to give me a worse mark.
There are 125 castes or ethnic groups throughout Nepal.
Wow.
And historically, Gurkhas came from just 4 of these groups. Over the years, the army has succeeded in reaching more diverse sectors of society, in part thanks to its dedicated team of Galawalas who go out in tireless search of the best young men.
They have a lot of...
The newest and most baby Galawala, aged just 45, made a dramatic entrance, bringing in record numbers from the east.
So the Galawalas, so they're retired Gurkhas, basically. So they were British soldiers and they're now retired, correct? So I guess, yeah, they would have the ability to talk to these young men about their experience and possibly recruit easier than some other people would be able to.
Wow, I'm really enjoying my job because I want to do something for my countries, the British Army. Everybody know in the world, this is one of the best army in the world.
Due to the searing heat, the 800-metre run has become the first test of the day, and the locals have turned out to cheer the boys on. Or perhaps eye up the competition.
Stand by. Go!
With the futures of so many potential recruits resting on the selection process, there is no room for human error.
Every single score that's written down gets checked by someone else. And I personally will check every single score of those who are selected. Then the Chief of Staff will check every single score of those who are selected. In order to understand fairness, you have to understand Nepali society generally. Nepal is a country where people pay money to get just about everything. And therefore, for us to kind of display ourselves as being free, fair and transparent, we have to go to huge lengths to convince people that that's the case. We'll tell them not to pay money to anyone to get into the British Army.
The first exam is maths.
Similarly, in the exam hall, every question must be unique. By 3 p.m, the test paper will be in the local bazaar, being sold for a few rupees.
Well, writing the papers is difficult. We do keep them under strict lock and key, and then in order to generate those papers, to proofread those papers, to proofread them again and again, because if there are any dramas on the day, it is unfortunately a cohort of young boys who are going to suffer, and we do not want that to happen.
One focus of this year's campaign has been to filter out potential problems early to avoid wasting recruits' efforts, emotions and money. Major Nightingale has introduced a new test to regional selection. Hyperextending elbows, some call it noodle arm, is an immediate fail, so this is now checked early. Throughout the day, if recruits fall short on anything, they head straight to the dreaded Chowtari and then home.
These boys will give everything to try and get into the British Army. I'm not saying that a British soldier is not equally motivated to join the British Army, but the difference with these guys is their whole families put pressure on them to join the British Army. They get in.
That is a very good point. I don't think that's just the British, but I think when you grow up in a society that's well off, whether that's America, the UK, other Western countries, a lot of times the citizens there take for granted, and not on purpose. It's just you grow up with something, you get used to it. But people that come from places that don't have some of those same luxuries, they will do anything. They are so motivated to exceed. And I think one example of that is in America, the people that come across the border from poorer countries, they tend to work really hard because they see the benefit of being in a free country, a wealthy country, a country that you can make your dreams come true. And I see that's probably how these young men look at the British military. They have this opportunity to have this amazing career, do something meaningful with their life. Yeah, that makes sense.
Into the British Army, their whole family's life will change forever. And that's the context that we're working with. 1456, Nishchal. Yes, sir. 1460, Prajwal. Yes, sir. 1468, Pradeep Kumar. Yes, sir. 1470.
For some of today's young men, the news is devastating.
1499, Sugam. Yes, sir. 1500, Sunil.
The recruiting staff are very protective of them. They won't allow anyone to speak to the potential recruits. Today is too important. The chosen few will be invited back to selection in January, where they'll compete for one of just a few hundred places. Only 4% of the 10,000 applicants will make it.
Wow, 4%. Wow, that's you had to be the best of the best then to make it.
Gurkhas have been part of the British military for over 200 years, ever since the Anglo-Nepalese War, when the British were so impressed by the fighting skills of their enemy, they struck a deal to recruit them when the war was over. Since then, they've become one of the most feared units of the British forces and fought in every major conflict. The politest of soldiers, the most ferocious of fighters. Can today's recruits uphold a reputation centuries old? South of the Himalayas and west of Kathmandu lies Pokhara, Nepal's second largest city.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President and Railroad, thank you for flying with Delhi Airlines. Namaste.
It's the gateway to the Annapurna mountain range, a favourite spot for trekkers. But it's also home to final selection for the British Gurkhas.
I want to ask this too. Is there a strong fighting culture in Nepal? I mean, I understand why these young men from Nepal would be motivated to join the British military. But back 200 years ago, the British military was impressed with the soldiers from Nepal. So is there already some kind of strong fighting culture there or something that already had these young men being very adept warriors, if you will?
It's here that the recruiting team must choose once and for all who will become the future Nepali warriors. They've already been selected as the best of the best from their regions. Now they must undergo even more rigorous tests, not least of which is the infamous Doko race. The race involves running up a mountain in the Himalayan foothills with 25 kilos of sand in a basket strapped around the forehead.
It is our identity.
Some cardio right there.
As a Gurkha and carry a Doko. We got the British Elite Force, like the Para, they got their own specific training, like the commandos, they have got their own selection, and this is unique for the Gurkhas.
The day before, the sand is meticulously weighed and the Doko baskets carefully laid out. Each recruit must prepare his own.
In case of raining, they are covering their blanket by plastic. In case of rain, they will be heavier than usual weight.
And why the blanket?
Blanket because this one is quite rough, so they may scratch their skin at their backside.
How hard is the Doko race?
It is very hard, very hard.
I bet that is hard.
The Doko race
Tough.
was only introduced in 1989. Before that, most of the young men grew up in the mountains and did this daily. There was no need for a test.
That's why there's one of the reasons they're so tough.
4:45 a.m., the potential recruits leave camp, gather their Doko baskets, and when enough light has risen,
they're already running those mountains all their lives. That makes sense.
Yes, sir. Okay, group number 1.
I also want to say this, that is true. Like, if someone trains at a higher elevation or lives at a higher elevation, they generally, when they move to a lower elevation, so, Britain, I'm guessing, has a much lower elevation than Nepal does on average. So, it makes sense that when you're up there, your body has to work harder for oxygen. And when you go on a lower elevation, your body's already has a stronger cardiovascular output than someone who necessarily grew up on a lower elevation.
Blue, figure 34, stand by, go!
It is tough as a nature of the event because it is uphill from start to the end. So my tips for the boys is do not give up. Keep going and never look up. If you look up, obviously, your weight pull you towards the ground and pull you back. So always bend down and keep going up.
This last run was quite dodgy because of the weather. It rained the whole night and boys were wet this morning and their doko was wet. The terrain itself is difficult, uphill, the steps and stones and boulders and the puddles.
No time for water stops. The recruits must complete the course in 46 minutes. If they fail, they leave selection immediately.
Man, that is tough.
At the top, it's time for a well-earned breakfast.
I wonder how high that is.
Relief at last. The descent is less painful, the boys singing as they go. Selection is almost complete. It won't be long now until they know what their future will hold. It's the night before results day for the potential recruits, or PRs, from the west of Nepal. And to ease the nerves, the recruiting staff have suggested they put on a show. Western Idol delights the judging panel. It's clear that West's got talent. The next morning, it's a different story. The young men must now say their goodbyes. If successful, they're unlikely to see their newfound friends again. Many will be heading home. In a few moments' time, they'll be invited into a room one by one and told their fate.
We see a massive spectrum of Nepali society. We have people from very, very poor backgrounds who are orphans. You see everything in that room, which is why we don't allow you guys to go in there. It means so much to them to get in because a lot of them might have gambled everything on this. It's quite a raw environment, actually.
Hard for you emotionally?
Yeah, well, I think everyone, really. We are obviously emotionally invested. It's impossible not to.
The minutes tick by painfully. The staff of Gurkha company from Catterick survey from above. If the recruits are successful, they will bound up the stairs at 1,000,000 miles an hour before anyone can change their minds. There, they will become part of the British Army, and it's over to Gurkha company to turn them into soldiers. Amongst the candidates is 20-year-old Madhav Karki. This is his fourth and final attempt and his last chance to get in before he turns 21 and can no longer apply.
Oh, 21's the limit.
Everyone is nervous. Outside the gate, the families wait.
What are the youngest that can join?
To appear through the railings. For those who've been unsuccessful, there is next year, if they are under 21 and can afford to make this journey again. If not, life will have to be very different. As Madhav Karki appears through the door, it looks to be good news.
I'm feeling very excited and I'm feeling like I'm in the moon. So it's my dream became true. So I'm feeling very happy. No one in my family, they are in the army. I'm the first guy in the British Army right now.
You must feel so proud.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
You're in the British Army, how does it feel?
It's my happiest moment of my life.
Really?
Yes. It's my dream come true, ma'am.
Have you tried before?
Yes, ma'am. This is my second dream, ma'am. Yeah.
And you remember what it felt like last year, so this must be so special.
Yes, I'm very happy, ma'am.
Hello, Dai.
The first thing the boys are allowed to do is phone home.
we give the boys 4 phone calls throughout the selection process. So after each stage, so after the medical, after the physical, after the education, and when they're selected, they get a phone call. And that's basically so their parents hear from them first, so no one else can sort of play games and say, oh, your son's nearly there, but I'll get him in if you give me some money. So it's to prevent that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, it's nice that their parents hear them first. It's always a little bit sad when the parents don't pick up.
Yes, that'd be so exciting.
They're waiting.
Man, I bet they're so excited to tell their parents.
Hello, Mama.
I just called my father. He's just crying on the other side of phone. They're so happy. I know.
With their new recruits assembled, Gurkha Company waste no time. The boys' own clothes will now be sent back to their families. They'll need a whole new wardrobe in the British Army.
They have to get all their kit and equipment, so it's like a big Christmas day. So as you can see on the table, they are the Christmas father, and then they are getting a bunch of bag. We don't know who's going to be selected, and we don't know the sizes. So now we'll take them to the room, and then if there's a big or small, we try to sort it out within the group.
So it's like a big swapping session.
Yes.
And inevitably all the big guys will end up with a small kit.
Yeah, it will happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, a trip to the barber and the tailor.
You feel like you are a part of our army. Without wearing these suits, you're no longer civilian.
What was the hardest part of selection for you?
For me, it was a 2400-meter running race, VFT, because since I'm a grown-up all in the city, I haven't run that much. So for me to pass only, it was very hard. But I have trained hard with my friend. Then I have succeeded and passed.
The new recruits are inoculated, fitted for their Virtus body armour, and measured for their civvy outfits, known as the mufti. Camp quickly becomes awash with ironing boards and boot polish, and mirror space is very much at a premium. The recruits keep none of their old belongings. Everything is new.
The Gurkha tie. This is a special tie. I don't think you can find it in
cannot buy
markets.
We cannot buy it.
Yeah, it's a specially designed tie for Gurkhas.
And it's used only on special occasions, I think.
Shampoo.
Soaps. We have our razor kits.
Usually the Mongols don't really grow mustache.
People
Mongolians
don't really have beard or mustache. Like, it's very rare in our case, man.
Yeah.
The exciting I am because son is always better than father because of the time they improve. So this intake will be better than last intake straight away. Son is always better than father. My son will be better than me straight away.
पछाडी चाहिँ हात राख्दाखेरि चाहिँ तिम्रो चाहिँ मेक स्योर तिम्रो चाहिँ यो पाम चाहिँ क्रस गरेको हुनु पर्यो हुन्छ अनि यहाँनिर चाहिँ कुनै खालको चाहिँ स्लिट हुनु भएन.
One of the most important new challenges this week is drill lesson 1. In a few days' time, they must parade in front of dignitaries and their families.
Oh, wow.
And
That quick.
everyone wants it to be perfect.
मेक स्योर फ्रन्ट र्याङ्क चाहिँ मेक स्योर के हो तिमीले चाहिँ 45 डिग्री एंगलमा चाहिँ हेरेको हुनु पर्यो बुझ्यो फेरि गोर्खा कम्पनी भन्छु त्यहाँबाट फेरि के हो पोजिसन अफ एटेन्सनमा आउने ओके गोर्खा कम्पनी.
It's all about the legacy.
I like that uniform. The uniform is pretty sharp.
15 years ago, I was like them. And then one of my section commander, his name is Captain Bhakta Sirsan. I am his legacy. So he teaches me everything. How to survive, how to do the things in army. Now I'm doing the same thing to these boys. So maybe after a few years later, so one of these boys will stand in front of this place. And then probably he will say the same. The legacy will go on and on and on. But they will always remember us, and we will also remember them.
The recruits have just a week to get to grips with the basics before they fly to the UK. There's a lot to learn, and they'll need their new comrades, their numries, to help them out every step of the way. Instructors from Gurkha Company in Yorkshire's Catterick Garrison await the arrival of their new recruits.
Oh yes, everyone is looking forward for this day.
Because Gurkha Company would have been quite quiet, won't it?
It is, yeah, it is quite quiet when the boys are not in the camp around, and then we just feel lonely when the boys are not in.
Soon enough they appear, safe into this foreign land, which from now on will be their home.
Wow.
It's really unknown area when you come into the UK. When I recall my memories, it's exciting as well as a bit daunting as well. We don't know what's coming up. So a bit excited, and on the other hand,
bit excited.
you're away from your
I'm guessing
so
they have to be so excited.
lots of emotion in your mind going through.
It's been a long journey to get here. Years of training, months of tests, examinations and interviews. But this is only the beginning. They will fight for this country and this queen now. A job that will change their own future and the fortunes of their families.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can subscribe to our channel or leave us a comment below. And
Wow. That's so cool. I can imagine those guys are on top of the world. I mean, what was it, 4%? I think, what did they say, 10,000 try out and 4%, that's 400, yeah. 400 out of 10,000. Wow. So it sounds like this didn't really go into detail about why these guys tend to be very fierce warriors. Is it some sort of cultural thing in Nepal, or is it something that kind of happens once they're in the UK? Or I wish it had gone into detail about that, but maybe I'll find another video on the Gurkhas training pretty soon. But wow, guys, I thought that was really interesting. I never heard of the Gurkhas before, and I just think it's pretty cool that they get this opportunity, it changes their life, it changes their family's lives. I'm guessing in Nepal, I never knew how poor Nepal was, but this video made it sound like Nepal was a fairly poor country. So I'm guessing if they're going to the UK and getting this, rather large salary compared to where they come from, they probably can send some money back to their family and help take care of them, and it just changes their lives. And I guess even after they retire, they're able to possibly be recruiters or something like that. This is interesting, guys. I appreciate people sharing this video and helping me to know I should check out the Gurkhas. So anyways, if you like this video, please click that like button. Also, please feel free to share your suggestions in the comment section. If you have any other videos along like the Gurkhas, or maybe something about the British military and whatnot, because I'm definitely going to be checking out some stuff like that in the near future. Also, guys, please subscribe to join me on my journey to continue learning about my British and Irish ancestry. Until next time, guys. Peace.